The Sharia law was first developed after the Prophet Muhammad's death in 632 CE. The law still exists to this day and is implemented into the lives of all Muslims, including family and religious obligations, daily routines, and financial dealings. It had been composed from the Quran and the Sunnah, which were the practices, sayings, and teachings of Muhammad. From a Western perspective, these laws would be considered disgusting, inhumane, and stupid. These punishments are within the Quran and are called the had punishments. There are 5 had crimes, which are unlawful sexual intercourse or sex outside of marriage and adultery, false accusation of unlawful sexual intercourse, wine drinking, which can sometimes extends to include all alcohol drinking, theft, and highway robbery. The result in breaking this law extends to stoning, flogging, amputation, execution, or exile. There are also many other things that the Sharia law restricts people from doing. Some of these are forbidding women to drive and socialize in public, trafficking drugs will lead to death if caught, and no religious signs are allowed to be seen in public. There have also been some cases where Bibles that have been brought over from another country can be confiscated. However, the people of Saudi believe that although the law has unbelievable consequences, it nurtures society and creates a better environment for all, as does the government. The Nigerian Congress of 2002, Sam Aluko, has stated that we must realize that the Sharia is not just a legal system, but also a way of life, by which Muslim fundamentalists seek to regulate and control their entire religious, social, economic, and cultural actions, interactions, and reactions, even with non-Muslims. Although most people would find this law to be ridiculous, Sam Aluko's statement is quite true and allows people to understand why the government has implemented this law into the Saudi Arabia kingdom. Now onto non-Muslim rights. Non-Muslims within Saudi Arabia live in a society where religion controls how people eat, pray, and socialize. With Islam so integrated into the Saudi culture, along with the strength of Muslim faith, non-Muslims are treated poorly by both the people and government. Khalid Walid, a member of the Muslim community, speaks out about infidels and says that within Saudi Arabia, non-Muslims are merely tolerated. They have no right to build any places of worship for their customary religious rituals and practices. Non-Muslims are not allowed to observe their rites, celebrate their religious festivals, or even extend congratulations to one another in front of any Saudis. What Khalid has said is very much true, as within the Quran it states that Allah is an enemy to unbelievers. It is difficult for any non-Wahhabi Muslims to get both an education and a job, as they face severe discrimination in both these areas. They all must practice their religion privately, as if caught practicing openly can lead to severe punishments. If taken to court by any incident, all testimonies by non-Muslims can be ignored and can receive harsher criminal sentences than Muslims. It can be argued that the government seeks to oppress other religions as Islam allows tighter control over its people. Furthermore, the Saudi government seeks to ensure its people loyalty to Islam by using the Quran as a guide in writing legislation preventing followers of Islam from converting to another religion. The Quran states that they who wish that you should disbelieve as they disbelieve, and then you would be equal. Therefore take not to yourselves friends of them, until they emigrate in the way of God. Then, if they turn their backs, take them, and slay them wherever you find them. Take not to yourselves any one of them as friend or helper. For those who did not understand what that quote just said, it was pretty much saying that if you convert from Islam to another religion, you will be executed. The government has also placed an official law for converting, as it states that an apostate is to be executed by agreement in the case of a man because of the words of the Prophet. Slay those who change their din. Asking the apostate to represent was stipulated as a condition prior to his execution. The government have used these laws to control religion and keep many Muslims from converting, as both the government and Muhammad believe that there is only one true religion, which is Islam. Now that all the disadvantages of being a non-Muslim are out of the way, we can move on to viewing the benefits. Surprisingly, their advantages are very generous and include living inside the Islamic State, having rights to free clothing, food and shelter provided by the state by default. Both road and council tax will be abolished and gambling. Drugs and prostitution will be eradicated. That's not too bad for an infidel. Now we move on to Shia's treatment within society. Ever since the death of Muhammad, there have been two separate groups that have formed over the way a new leader should be appointed. These two groups are the Shiites, aka Shias, who believe that the leader should be a descendant of Muhammad, and the Sunnis who believe that a leader should be appointed by election and consensus. The Sunnis make up 84 to 90% of the world's Muslims, which leaves Shias only with 10 to 13%. Shiites believe that the daughter of Muhammad, Fatima, and more importantly her husband, Ali, would have been the best sources of both the Quran and Islam. The meaning Shia refers to the party of Allah. Therefore, Shiites believe that the leadership of both religious and political communities should have been Allah and Fatima. Seeing as Sunnis are more dominant throughout Saudi, many Shiites fear that the Sunnis would eventually force them into following the Sunni law. However, although Sunnis dominate Muslim population, the Shias have more political clout than the Sunnis. This creates fear for all Sunnis and leads them into retaliating against the Shiites. Sorry for the train. Seeing as the Shia population are treated unfairly, many groups such as the well-known ISIS group are filled with Sunnis and are also against the Shiites. The ISIS group are now asking questions to people to determine if they are either Sunni or Shia. Some of the questions that have been asked are, what is your name, which if similar to Allah or Fatima, ISIS will most likely associate with Shia. How do you pray and what kind of music do you listen to? ISIS believes that all Shiites must die in order to create a pure form of Islam. Therefore, they are very specific when people are answering these questions. The Shia community have suffered significantly under the Saudi law, which has resulted in forbidding of their religious ceremonies, job discrimination, killings, and arbitrary arrests. According to the latest State Department Human Rights Report on Saudi Arabia, testimony by Shiites is not valid in courts. Shiite prayer services are regularly disrupted, and Shiite social forums in the eastern province have been banned. The Shiites are being treated like they are non-Muslims, which is cruel and unfair. However, since the recovery of King Abdullah, he has suggested informing a meeting with all leaders to ease the tension between the Sunnis and Shiites. On the 25th of December 2014, Shiite and Sunni leaders signed an agreement promising to live as one family. Then maybe one day Shiites will be treated as equal as Sunnis. The next topic is about the Committee for the Promotion of Virtue and the Prevention of Vice, which is also known as the Hive. This is an organisation that has a main purpose to entrust police to prevent any non-Islamic acts from occurring within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In other words, the government want the 3,500 to 4,000 police members to follow the Sharia law when patrolling. Citizens of Saudi must be very careful now, as the police must follow certain acts related to Sharia, which are sex, proselytizing of other religions or prostitution, and prohibition of any activity related to homosexual acts. The Islamic laws are still being used for common life practices, prohibition of wine culture in country, and choice of eatables. This has also placed a ban on the production, consumption, or dealing of any alcohol within the country. The High have now placed bans on camera phones, as they believe it will prevent the men from taking pictures of the women. The punishments that will be used if found accused of breaking either one of these laws will result in either beating or humiliation publicly. This will also apply for non-Muslims too. In conclusion, we can say that although many people believe the government are very harsh with implementing these laws and making really strict rules, the people of Saudi believe that it nurtures society and helps all members of the community grow stronger with their religious connection. Due to the government revolving all their laws around the Quran, all Muslims are not complaining as much as you would think. Even with infidels, although all Muslims are not fond of them, the government has still allowed them quite a lot of advantages if living within the Saudi kingdom. Thank you for listening.